Hey guys, welcome to David Makes. This is David Makes Thor's hammer. We're going to use some 1/4 inch aluminum that I had laying around the shop. I went to Industrial Metal Supply in Sun Valley, California, near where I live. I got some aluminum tube as well as some solid 1 inch rod. I thought the 1 inch rod might provide a nice counterbalance to the head. I wanted it to be nice and heavy. We're just measuring everything out and drawing out, making sure that all of the pieces will cut out of this one sheet of aluminum. Got to put an aluminum blade on my saw, just using a regular DeWalt 12-inch sliding compound miter saw. Keeping it clean, you got to keep it clean. Chopping everything up on the miter saw. Once that was done, I laid everything out and got ready to weld. Always wear safety equipment when you're welding, obviously. Decided to cut a hole in the top and bottom of the hammer head to allow the handle to pass all the way through. And I just used my drill press and a hole saw. Worked pretty well. This is the handle, and it goes all the way through. I needed to clean up my welding table a little bit so I could have a better ground. Welding aluminum is difficult. It's a different sort of thing. You have to make sure everything's really, really clean. And then notice on my grinder how the aluminum just fouls the grinder. It has a really low melting temperature, but got the hang of it. I'm gonna use that wire brush to make sure everything is nice and clean. There's a real thin film of aluminum oxide on all the aluminum sheet, and it's got to be cleaned off or you won't get good welds. Trying to weld on the inside as much as possible. I thought that would make things easier. I'm using some scraps of aluminum as a square, trying to keep everything true. I didn't cut angles on the edges of any of the pieces of metal. I figured I'd leave that as like a fillet, since 1/4 inch metal is hard to weld. It's nice to kind of have a fillet, and then you can use the wire to fill. I loved this look before I welded the outside. It kind of made me think of Vision's suit with those lines cut into it. I used some clamps and some body English to get everything to line up more or less, and then started filling in all those fillets on the outside. Aluminum warps pretty easily, although that 1/4 inch is fairly solid. Some of those thinner pieces warped a little bit on me, but just kind of pushed them back in shape. I'm thinking this is going to look a little rustic at this point. My welds aren't great. I'm not the best at welding aluminum, but this was fun. I started to get the hang of it and bang out these welds. With all those little angles, it's just a lot. It's a lot of welds. And then I had to cut these little tiny triangles. I didn't want to cut them on the saw. And then grinding. I love when you take the black off. It just looks so cool. Getting all those corners. There's 8 corners. These little tiny guys, and they just wanted to melt and turn into slag. So I figured I'd just fill it up and then grind it off. But again, oh, this is fun. Got it all put together. Awesome. That's a good day's work right there. Oh yeah, got to take the shirt off. I guess that's embarrassing my kids' time, but I thought this looked really cool. Kind of like when Tony made the original Iron Man suit when he was imprisoned in the desert in that cave. And he kind of had the ugly welds and wasn't really trying to make it pretty. Was just trying to make something that would allow him to escape. So I almost left it like this. I think it looks really cool, but it's still dripping. I had to hose it down. It was too hot to touch. So got to clean it up, get ready for some grinding. So I started with just a cutoff wheel on my angle grinder. And you can see it doesn't make progress fast. It's just grinding. Look at how small that grinding wheel is getting. There went one. Okay, now we've switched to a flap disc. Flap disc works a lot better. It takes a little more skill, to get the desired result, but the flap disc has a tendency not to fill up with the melted aluminum. So you just want to grind everything, all these surfaces, all those welds, want to grind those off, all that extra material. There's just a lot of it. It just takes a long time. Grinding. I think I spent 5 or 6 hours maybe grinding this thing, maybe longer. So in terms of time well spent, I thought I'd put this end on it last night. I thought, I'll put an end on it. And so I did. And then as it turns out, that's not what I needed. So I wanted to cut a little circle out. So I just used a hole saw to cut a circle out, and then I welded that to the end of that piece of pipe. So here we're going to see it getting welded on there. I wanted to put it on the end so I could shape it, because in a minute we're going to take it over to the lathe. Oh, the tip fouled. Sometimes you have to change the tip on your welder. So here we go, put it on the lathe, and just cleaned it up a little bit with the carbide tipped chisel. I'm going to make that ring that goes at the base of the handle, and then also the cap that goes on the end. I wanted it to have a little bit of shape, because that one I put on before just didn't look good. And then I just cut them off so they would slide on really easily. Now I got to grind this weld all the way down so that ring will fit nice and snug, and it'll look clean. So here we go, grinding. So much grinding. I had to get the angle grinder in there with the cutoff wheel just to get a nice sharp corner, because the flap disc just wouldn't get it. And while I'm here, might as well just clean it up a little bit more, see how nice we can make it look. This is not the pretty hammer. This hammer looks like it's been through war. I left some of that welding slag on the corners. I think it just kind of adds an air of authenticity, but that's basically there. It's done. It's got its cap and ring and all welded down and ready for leather on the handle. That's coming next. So we're gonna just drill and tap. So this is a tap and die set that I picked up at Harbor Freight Tools, and just tapped a die in there. All right, and we're just gonna sew up some leather for the handle. It wouldn't fit on, so I had to get it wet so it would stretch a little bit. After I sewed it, I want it on there nice and tight. And then I just had to tap the handle down. I think it looks good. Now we just want to strap. I did a zigzag pattern with some contrasting thread. Thought that looked cool. Now we're just going to make sure it fits here, and my hand will fit through. Yep, that looks good. So now it just needs a grommet so we can put the bolt through into the end of the handle. So we're going to punch a hole, a little hammer and die cutter, and a hole punch. So we just punch through all those layers of leather, and now we're just going to expand it a little bit with this knife so that the bigger grommet will fit in. I've got this great grommet tool that I bought on Amazon. Works perfectly. Maybe I'll put a link in the description so you can find those. And now we're going to just throw that bolt in to hold the handle on. And I just need to do a little more work on this bolt. So here we go. Now it fits. Let's just tighten it up with a wrench. Why don't we? I just used a carriage bolt, 1/4 inch carriage bolt. It's nice and smooth. There we go. I'm going to call that done. Such a dork. All right, Thor's hammer build. I'm going to call that done. For David Makes, Thor's hammer. Look at that. Nice strap on the end. Guys, if you want to see more like this, like and comment below. Let me know what else you'd like to see me build. And make sure you subscribe and hit that notify button so you can see whenever I post a new video. For David Makes, I'm David Norton. Thanks for watching.